Time flies. It's already day 2 of practice for the Texas Longhorns, and we're going to get the latest from somebody who got to see a little bit of it. You know, they let the media see a little bit of it nowadays. Orange Blood's live. We're glad you're with us. Jump on in. If you want to shoot us a super chat with a big burning question you've got, feel free. We got a man, our eyes on the scene is Cody Carpentier today in the T formation. Of course, that's Jeff Ketchum. I'm Chad Hastings, and here we go. Day 2 of Texas Longhorn practice. Cody, before we head any direction, you tell us where to go. What was it like there today, other than really, really damn hot?
Well, it was definitely a bit warm. As you all know, it was my first day and officially at Texas practice. Seeing these guys in person. I mean, I'll just say this: the defensive line, as far as size goes and as far as twitch goes, I mean, you can rival it with a lot of pro days I've been to, a lot of NFL training camps I've been to, as far as the sheer size and explosion that these guys have. And honestly, I'll just leave with this: Josiah Sharma, when he stood next to, I wrote his number down next to Travis Shaw and Cole Brevard, and just sheer size, if they can get him down a couple pounds, dude, Josiah Sharma, if they can bring him along quick, that kid's going to be special. He's going to be pressing for some reps early.
Wow. Let's get this out of the way real quick, Catch, before you jump in, because Tex Blonde throughout just saw Anwar's post. Any updates on Wingo, Money B? What happened to Wingo? The report from Anwar, Cody, that Wingo was not at practice today. Do we know anything?
No. So, yeah, he wasn't at practice today. There was no number one on the offensive side of the ball. Honestly, the first time I realized it was when I saw a slant route ran by a number that looked like number 1 and was 6'3", 215 pounds. And I was like, man, that looks good. And then I checked and I go, wait, that was 11. And that was Michael Terry. And it was like, it just sucked it right in. And I go, well, I thought it was Wingo for a second. And then I started doing the number check and I said, there's no number 1. Where's he at? And, but yeah, there's no update yet. They're going to try and get one after practice is over, but nothing yet on Wingo.
Gotcha. Yeah, I saw a tweet from Kirk Bowles within the last 5 minutes that they had basically every media member there reaching out to the media relations department to kind of get some sort of clarification on that. So stay tuned. My guess would be before this video is over, we'll know where he was. At this time of the year, it could be any number of things from summer school to just prior commitments to he's sick. So who knows? We'll see what happens. I gotta believe if it was anything to truly be worried about, we would have heard about it before practice started today, knowing that the way things work. Cody, give me another first impression. I'm kind of intrigued by this. Is you didn't see them yesterday, so this is your first chance to just kind of eyeball the team in person. It was interesting to hear you kind of talk about just the size and sheer athleticism of the defensive line group. What else stood out?
Well, I do want to come back to injuries in a minute because there was a couple of updates on some different injury things today. But kind of pre-practice walking in when they were doing walkthrough and stuff, and we were watching, it felt like, man, Amari Winston, 85, the freshman, it wasn't so much like he was getting first-team reps or anything. It was more so like every time I'd see a route run, it was Amari Winston getting a lot of routes, catching a lot of footballs. He looked good off the rip. Number 2 is Derek Williams. He just doesn't seem like he's quite there yet. He doesn't quite seem like he's 100% yet in that DB group. And then another thing that caught my eye while I was watching the DBs was actually Jonathan Cunningham, who I know y'all talked about him yesterday, number 37, the freshman. When he was standing, I took some pictures, him standing next to Michael Taff, standing next to Ziki Umuzulo, guys like this. And it was like, if you took the numbers off the guys, you would have never realized that that was Jonathan Cunningham with the DBs. Like he is, and when you talk about like features and stuff, and you've seen different players and different archetypes and body types and stuff, like he's got some features that may resemble, an edge rusher or an outside linebacker type. But as far as where his body's at right now, that's a bona fide 100% defensive back, and I think they're treating him as such. Interesting.
All right, Cody, you said there was some other injury stuff you wanted to hit. What else do we need to know?
Well, we didn't see much DJ Campbell. I think we didn't see him. And before practice, we saw Cole Hudson at right guard, and then Connor Robertson playing some center. Before we were walking in, as we were walking in, Jonah Williams and Cade Phillips were walking off again. So they did not partake while we were there. And then during practice, towards the end, when we were during our availability, Travis Shaw was laying on the ground, and he was like at the farthest point of the field. We couldn't really tell exactly what the problem was. He eventually got up off of his back, had the arms over the head, was drinking a ton of water, kind of explaining this sled drill he was doing. So not quite sure if it was heat exhaustion, or if it was like a back or something, but we're kind of erring on the side of heat exhaustion. But nothing too big, but the Jonah and Cade Phillips thing did continue today.
Okay. We'll just hope that was big man need to lay down.
I was saying, look, man,
just right.
Start with a joke about how hot it is, and then get to maybe the biggest guy on the team,
right?
Well, that's Cole Brevard. That's not even. I mean,
is Brevard officially the biggest?
Well, I mean, as far as the official, Brevard is 6'3", 346, and then 44 would be 6'5", 342. So yeah, 340. He got him by 4 pounds. But as far as like BMI goes too, it's like you walk up in Brevard. Like what I said before, it was like Shaw, Sharma, and Brevard side by side. You couldn't tell me which one of those guys is a freshman because none of them look like freshmen. Brevard is the thickest boy here.
That's what I wanted to hear.
The thickest. All right.
You know what's really interesting about that, guys, is there's no reason to overreact to DJ Campbell. These things are going to happen. I think certainly early in camp, a lot of times, I think back to previous camps, you'll see a lot of times in the second session of summer school, you'll just see some depending on when practice is, it's hard to get 85 guys in exactly the classes they need. I wouldn't be shocked if it was something like that. These things tend to happen. But with Campbell, even not in the lineup a little bit, it was really interesting to hear Cody say that Connor Robertson moves up to essentially the starting center position, and Cole Hudson slides over to the DJ Campbell position, mainly because it's a little bit like the conversation we were having about nickel yesterday, where if Littleton is the nickel, then the trickle of that is – Gilbo stays on the outside and McDonald is at safety. And that if any of those other pieces, whether it was Kobe Black at corner or whether or not it was Derek Williams at safety, elevated themselves so that it made one of those other – if you're just trying to get your best five on the field, then we talked about what the presence of Littleton might tell us if and when he's moved around. With one piece move, DJ Campbell moving out, they shuffle out the offensive line, and the starting center moves to guard. And obviously it's day 2. They're not in pads. They could do a lot of different things. I'm a little surprised to hear that Connor Robertson, though, I would not have guessed that. If you had said no DJ Campbell today, catch what do you think they did, I would have assumed that they just moved up a guard. I would have thought Nate Kibble maybe moves up. I would have thought something along those lines. I'm a little surprised. It's good for Connor Robertson, though. I kind of view him as unimportant, dead scholarship space until he letters. So for a guy going into his 4th year junior season and to have not lettered and then to at least be in the mix, hey, good for him. Maybe he can be, this year's oh God, I've already forgotten his name. Juan Davis. Maybe every team has a guy that hangs around for 4 or 5 years and eventually finds a way to become a contributor. That would be really cool if Robertson, a local guy, could find a way. It's interesting. I've just babbled about this, but like I'd really, of all the things that, other than Brevard being the thickest, of all the things that Cody has said, Connor Robertson's name being mentioned on day 2 of practice really catches my eye.
Interesting.
Would you have thought it would have been Cruz? Is that what I'm guessing you were thinking?
No, but I didn't think, it wasn't an issue of, if you told me that Hudson get hurt and then it was just a matter of bumping Robertson up, I would go, okay, well, that's kind of Cruz was third team yesterday, so there's some seniority things I still think they're doing. We saw the transfers waiting in line, but that they moved the center to guard tells me,
not like Kibble or something.
It just makes me think that maybe Connor Robertson's the sixth man in that interior. That it doesn't mean that that's automatically the case, but on day 2, that was the solution to a DJ Campbell omission problem. Interesting. That's a little bit like we didn't know on day 1 that we'd be talking about Littleton with the starters. That will be a topic of conversation today on the message boards when we start talking about what happened in practice, and that a little baby shuffle of the offensive line. Because it could be nothing. I don't know what to read into that, because one of the things I keep talking about with this backup offensive line is I don't know what they have. I don't know really what it means to be the third guard or the third tackle. A year ago, we knew that Trevor Gooseby was the third tackle, and we were like, that's a dude we want to see. This year at tackle, we know that there's a battle going on at right tackle, so it kind of feels like Kojo and Brandon Baker are 2A and 2B, and thus one of them is the third tackle, and by default, Nick Brooks is working at third team left tackle, and
Kojo.
No, the guy that also hasn't played. You just get these guys' names when they don't get on the field.
Chapman.
What's that?
Jaden Chapman.
Yes, thank you. Chapman that caught my eye a little bit yesterday. I was like, oh God, Chapman's running with the twos.
I'll be honest, he looks good.
Does he?
Chapman. If you were gonna say, yo, who's potentially the Trevor Gooseby, right? Like of this year, like, and this is just again showing up one practice. I didn't see him hit anybody, play against anybody, but like on air, moving around, his body's. I don't know what he looked like as a first day as a freshman, but his body looks really good. Like he's a guy that I would say I could, maybe not today's Texas, but like 5-6 years ago's Texas, you could say Jay Chapman's a dependable left tackle.
Shout out to all you guys in the chat. If you guys want to throw a super chat at us, we will get right to it. Cody Carpentier joining us from the 40 after Texas's second practice. Also, a reminder, Anwar, and we'll get stuff from Sark a little later. So these injury, questions that Cody's throwing out. Where was Wingo today? All of that. Sark's going to meet with the media. So extra important. Get that QR code in the upper left. Get signed up for orangebloods.com. All of that content from day 2 is coming. Catch, before we continue this conversation, why don't you tell the folks about Rogue Shop? Because I know the Rogue Shop folks are ready for 30 days from now in Columbus.
Oh, dude, I know this. Richard's ready now. Richard is the most ready. If you ever wondered why you would buy from Rogue Shop, just because the guy that owns it is an Orange Bloods through and through, and like there's no one more ready for the season to start than Richard of Rogue Shop. I'm just telling you. If he's in the chat right now, he should just say it. Like, he loves himself some Texas football. He's got a great product. He's got great service. The best. Texas is home for legal THC, CBD, and so much more. All those initials. Start saying OB and all the different things, and just the road kicks in. Look, pain, anxiety, sleeplessness, you name it, they can treat it. Check out the website today. Make it happen. I want to get back, Chad. You interrupted me, and I know we had to pay bills, and Rogue Shop got to get their shout out and everything. But I'm not done with the Chapman conversation.
Fair enough.
Because I'll tell you yesterday, Cody, when I saw the lineup, somebody made a comment. I posted a thing on Truths and Lies today. You might have missed it because you've been out covering practice and stuff. I just posted a couple of hours ago, but I had a really good source tell me we're getting Kennedy Brown, talking about Texas. And he goes, he didn't guarantee it, but I won't quote him, but he guaranteed it. So I posted on Orange Bloods like, hey, in Truths or Lies, I had a source that I pay a lot of attention to, and they're swearing to me that Kennedy Brown will be a Longhorn. So somebody made a comment in the chat of that thread. Well, maybe you don't need Kennedy Brown because Nick Brooks will be there, and maybe Nick Brooks will give you 2 or 3 years, and you'll just keep a guy like Kennedy Brown on the bench. And my response to that was like, we got to stop doing this thing where everybody's a future pro. And I have some doubts about Nick Brooks. I'm not saying that I don't think he can be a good player. I do think he can be a good player, but like the math on that says it's more unlikely than not. And so yesterday, after having been here for the spring, he's not a guy that showed up at midterm or anything like that. So when he showed up working with the threes yesterday behind Chapman, my response to that was more of a referendum on Brooks than it was to give Chapman an attaboy. I was a little bit like, you guys need to quit hyping up Nick Brooks if after the spring and the summer he hasn't gotten past Chapman, who up until now has really not been of consequence at all. And look at us here, day 2 of practice, having a Jaden Chapman is looking good and maybe somebody to keep an eye on moving forward. That'll put a smile on my face the rest of the day.
One thing I'll say to the Nick Brooks and let's the Nick Brooks, Jaden Chapman, Andre Kojo thing, just as far as like the perceived backup tackles. I do wonder if the Nick Brooks thing comes to a little bit of like a disciplinary thing where it's just like, hey, you're going to start camp behind Chapman. He had the off-field stuff. Like I wonder if part of that is in there.
That's fair.
To be honest with you, I think Chapman's in much better shape today. And if I had to, again, not seeing them play both sides, if I just had to walk in one practice, alien drops down, that's me today. Walking in, who's the swing tackle? It's Jaden Chapman. It's not Kojo. How about that?
Okay. Cody, we got a great super chat here from our guy Money B, who wants some early reactions from you. So Money B, $10 super chat. Thank you, Money B.
We have to play by Money B's rules. He's being very specific here.
That's right. After seeing practice today, Cody, use one word to describe the following guys. Arch Manning.
Leader.
Colin Simmons.
Greek.
Jelani McDonald.
He picked the word that rhymed with the one I thought he was going to pick.
Yeah, exactly. That was well done.
I was finish the sentence. Greek God.
Yeah.
McDonald. Starter.
Manny Muhammad.
Bigger.
Livingstone.
Good.
Lockett.
Advanced.
Clark.
Deuce.
And Baker.
McAllister. Baker being Brandon Baker.
Yeah.
Yes, I would assume.
Starter.
Okay. There you go. Go back to Christian Clark, because we talked about him on a show earlier today, and just the incredible rehab that he's gone through. He's back from this Achilles and already looking really good. So you said Deuce as in McAllister? Was your thought?
Dude,
okay.
like Doug Martin, Deuce McAllister, AJ Dillon, Saquon Bar. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, obviously, Torrey Becton is killing it, but this whole running back room, outside of potentially Baxter because he's coming off of injury, and Wisner's maybe not the best for a big squat, but as someone that spent a half a decade competitively powerlifting, all these dudes are squatting 550. It wouldn't shock me if Christian Clark was squatting 6. Like, these dudes are very low to the ground, very built out. Like, these are complete bodies, and these are young kids. This is like James Simon's got a great body put on him. Ricky Stewart, I expected to be a little bit slender, or he's nothing compared to Christian Clark as far as his frame and being that built out. But that Christian Clark, man, you couldn't say like, oh, that guy's coming off an Achilles. Like, you would have no clue that Christian Clark was coming off of an Achilles.
Yeah.
He's another one. It's gonna be. He's bigger than Jerick Gibson. Jerick Gibson's big, but he's not. I think Clark is listed at 212, and he's just like that. That guy puts on any more weight over the next 3-4 years. You're talking about. I don't even know what you're talking about. Like,
that's even a different body composition than he was as a prospect. I was telling Chad that he was just electrifying as a prospect.
Yeah. I remember Jordan Davison from the Rivals 5-star last year, and that was at the point when Davison, I think, was either 1 or they just moved him to 2, behind the kid that went to LSU. And Jordan Davison was like, man, this guy's got a trunk on him. He's got a butt and he's got some legs. And this is a running back, right? This thing, he needs to be in the NFL in like 2 years, like some Fournette stuff. And his upper body wasn't as complete. Man, you look at what I remember from him to like Clark, it's like a whole different ball game as far as their frames. And I know Clark's a year older than him, but as far as like, and I bring that up because Davison was obviously sought after by Texas, and he was, compared to Zeke by some people. And it was like Christian Clark, man, this is I don't know if you call it a feather in the cap or not, but as far as this running back room goes, I know we had a conversation about this on Orange Bloods on my column about, the A&M backfield and all this other crap, but this is a backfield right here.
Yeah. And Money B, thank you for that super chat. Interesting catch to me that Cody mentions that comp with Gibson, because anybody who knows these guys knows Jerick Gibson is put together. Every time you see a picture of that dude, and then for Cody to say that Clark in some ways just visually is more impressive than Gibson, that says a lot.
Yeah, it's funny. I was going through Sukamel's photo gallery on Orange Bloods yesterday, and I'd used a picture of, everybody was commenting on Christian Clark and his legs, and I remember looking at some of the other pictures of the backs. And Cody's right, man. These dudes are dudes now. Like I don't know if they can average 5 yards a carry, but they are in the weight room. They're getting after it.
Every day's leg day for the running backs at Texas.
And they won't give us Christian Clark for a while, I'm guessing. Usually we don't even know how much. I had a buy or sell question for Chad earlier today. And I said, do you buy or sell Christian Clark gets a carry in Columbus? What do you think?
I'll carry.
He gets on the field and gets at least one carry.
Just a carry.
If you give me like plus 250, I might take it.
See, but even then, you need me to give you plus 250 on it. Come on, buy or sell. He gets one damn carry.
Come on. He dives into the line. They're up 20.
It's nothing to do with
kill the clock.
It's nothing to do with him. It's the fact that Baxter's probably going to be ready at that point.
Well, they're only going to play 2. Like, there's no reason to think they'll dip that far down.
Yeah, you're going to depend on Wisner. You're going to depend on, he loves, feels like Sark always brings up Gibson. He's like his, new Cedric Baxter. Like, he loves him just as much. I don't think so. I don't know if Clark quite does get a carry against Ohio State. Those next 3 games, though, I think we're going to get some Clark fourth quarters of just straight Clark.
Yeah.
70-yard game, 80-yard game in fourth quarter.
And real quick, Chad, the reason why I bring that up is because I just want to hear from Clark talk about this rehab.
Yeah.
When your head coach, who's seen a million rehabs, sees yours and is like, science is a mother. He's literally going, my wife just had that same injury. And she was a competitive track athlete. It's not like Chad and I, she's a real athlete. And
right. Yeah, Sark didn't marry some woman that just fell off a ladder a few years ago.
Yeah, it was like, oh no, she was the JV. No, she was a real athlete. And when he talks about that, Sark won't be able to answer the Christian Clark. What did this injury do to transform who you are because I want, as a player, he's gotten bigger. Now, we're now describing him as like a little bit of a unit and a tank physically, but it sounds like no one is suggesting that there's been a huge trade-off in burst, which is crazy because he's coming off of an Achilles injury. This should take him 24 months to be getting back to explosiveness levels the way, it should. This is such a weird injury. I just want to hear Clark talk about it. What does he think before we ever get? I just would love to know, because what Cody describes is not what I saw as a prospect, but what I saw as a prospect was a guy 20 months ago who hadn't gone through a serious injury. And like, I wonder if Christian Clark had ever really worked a day hard in his life. But when you tear your Achilles, you either become the hardest worker in the entire program, or you're not going to make it back, and you're going to be a transfer in 16 to 20 months. So whatever it is that he is, it kind of got forced on him. And I'm curious about his perspective on this, because it will be unique, I think, to anybody else on the team.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I remember, Catch, when you got really excited about him and started talking about him, watching that high school footage, it was so entertaining to watch because he can do so many things. Real versatile guy. I'm interested to see where this goes. If you see you guys are throwing some chats in, we got another question for Cody that we will get to. Also, easily my favorite prediction that I've seen in a while. We will get you that. Let me remind everybody about AV Consultations. Put simply, this is the place that can set up the screen you've always wanted, the movie room you've always wanted. Get ready for the season. Obviously, we're 30 days away as we're talking, so it may not be able to get done by game one, but get it set up the way you need to. Also, they do security system. They do computer systems in the house. Maybe you just moved in and you need all that stuff done. AV Consultations can do it for you. 255-8678 or go to avconsultations.com. And remember, if you're out at your favorite Pluckers location, AV Consultations, they're the ones that set all that up. So the stuff over the bar, the screen in the bathroom, in the mirror. You want to do that kind of stuff at your house? They can absolutely do it for you. AV Consultations, 255-8678 or avconsultations.com. Tell them you heard about it on Orange Bloods Live. All right, reacting to day 2 of practice, Cody Carpentier, nice enough to join us after getting some eyeballs on it. Obviously, get to orangebloods.com for all the content as the night goes on. Cody, somebody wanted to know, first off, Braden, we like how you're thinking. This is called positive fan stuff. The 2,000-yard prediction for Trey Wisner. Well done. Well done. Cody, how about Lance Jackson? How's he looking? How's he doing? He's our guy from Texarkana. Somebody from his neighborhood wants an update.
Lance looks great. I mean, there's not a lot needs to be said. They were working really far away from where the media could get to. I think the Justice Terry Lance Jackson conversation is interesting. They're both playing end together. They had them broken off into 2 different groups: Simmons, Yamuzulo, Spence, Burke, Vosick, Lance, and Terry. And if I'm just being honest, like I'm not going to say anything negative about Justice Terry, but when you compare the two and you say, well, these 2 guys, which one's ready to play tomorrow? It's Lance at end, and I would say even at D tackle, just as far as like getting reps early on, especially if you're even considering an Ohio State, but just getting reps early on. I know Terry's a marauder. He's a little bit different football player than what Lance Jackson is, but Lance is like I talked about Sharma earlier, standing next to Shaw and Brevard. Like you have Lance standing next to Burke and Vosick, and it's like, well, that guy's here to play football today, not tomorrow. And that's Lance's advance. But this is exactly what his brother Landon told us, a year ago at SEC Media Days. And we talked to him at the Combine, and he's like, I promise you Lance Jackson's going to be ready to play football on day 1 because I'm teaching him how to do it. I'm teaching him, the drills that we're doing at Arkansas to get ready for practice. I'm teaching him these things all summer. I'm teaching him these things at home. And I think it's benefited him. And I think his frame is God-given, but he's another one that's just, wow, freshman.
Yeah, Texas fans will want to give God the credit, not an Arkansas football player the credit for that. if he ends up as a badass. Catch, what do you got for Cody?
Real quick, if I can pull this up, hold on, Raymond.
Oh, here we go.
Raymond, just need to let you know, you don't need to worry about me getting outworked. I promise you. I think it's funny that you think the only way I can get my work in is if I go down there to practice.
For a 27-minute availability.
That, Raymond, you literally don't know what I do for a living. Like, you just don't know what I do. So I'm not going to get mad at you. But I just want to let you know that is the most insulting thing that anybody has said to me all week. Just so you know. That is so insulting.
Come on, Raymond. What are you
doing?
doing?
Catch can get more done in 6 hours without coming to town.
I was literally up at 5 a.m. this morning on the message board answering emails because I went to bed last night at midnight and it felt early. Like I stopped working at midnight, so I was up at 5. Raymond, that was insulting. Don't ever do that again.
Yeah, I wasn't even gonna put that up. Catch put that up because I saw it, but I don't have the power to just erase those things. That Raymond, that is silliness. I had a quick question for
today.
Cody.
I've done a column. I'm working on the war room. I'm on my second live video. Like, come on, I don't work.
Trust me, we don't need to waste time on this show with you justifying your work ethic. We don't need to do it. You're absolutely correct. Do you have something for Cody, or I had a quick question for him about Arch?
I was thinking quarterbacks in my head, Chad. So you go right on ahead.
Okay.
Because we haven't talked Arch and we're like a half hour in.
I mean, it would sound like, with same pathway. Expand it a little bit. It's your first to get eyes on Arch Manning as the QB1 at a practice. So what stands out when you watch him go through his work?
I'll be honest. Y'all, everyone's going to hate me, including the chat. I'm probably the polar opposite of Anwar in this situation, where I can go in and I can just look at the quarterback and I'm like, all right, like, especially when it's like an Arch type quarterback, I only need to see like 2 throws. I'm like, I'm okay. I don't need to watch that. Go the opposite direction. Or if he is throwing, I'm just looking at the receivers. Arch is good. I mean, you don't need me to tell you that. He missed one throw, I think maybe 15, 20 minutes into the availability, and Sark was like, I think he had overthrown, I think it was DeAndre Moore. And he's like, you missed that one or something like this. He had like a smart remark for Arch. But yeah, I don't really know what else I can say about Arch. He's really good, but he wasn't my focal point, just straight up. There's 110 players to watch on the field. I saw maybe 4 of his throws, and that's all I really needed. I mean, it's Arch Manning.
Yeah, there you go, catch. He's a 4-click guy.
Well, the question I really had wasn't about Arch, so I'm going to ask it, but I'm going to ask, you can punt it if you want to, Cody, because the way you answered the Arch question may mean that there's not a real answer to the first part of the question, which was going to be, if we take Arch out of the equation, did any quarterback there, for any reason whatsoever, good or bad, do anything while you were there? Because it's early. It's just, you can't draw too many conclusions before the pads even come on. But non-Arch Manning related division, which is a little bit like the who was it we were talking about earlier that's in the separate division? I don't remember. But other quarterbacks, anybody just do anything that gave enough of an impression that they weren't being mentioned today on the show?
I noticed Matthew Caldwell. I noticed Trey Owens miss a throw. I will say KJ Lacey was probably the one thing where I was like, I wrote down a note. I go, because KJ Lacey, like, I haven't seen him in person before. And everything I've seen of him has been on film or of like a podcast where he's like standing there and he looks, like he's a little bit shorter than this screen is on my screen. And you see him in person, you're like, oh, he's not that small. Like, I've seen Bryce in person, Bryce Young. Like, I've seen some of these other smaller quarterbacks, and it's like he's not that small. And as far as his abilities, I think they're on par, if not ahead of where Owens and Caldwell are already. And that's, 2 practices in. So I would say Lacey. It's not like a big compliment that he's bigger per se, but I saw him in person, and he's not like a outlier per se, other than being like, well, he's the same size as Bryce.
Why did you notice Caldwell, out of curiosity? What made him? What made him
fluidity?
Notice? Yeah,
fluidity. Just like you could play backyard football with Matthew Caldwell. You could just line up, and I think he could just run your offense. I think he just looks fluid and competent. I think that's the one thing. And I would say the one thing about between him and Owens, of just like what I noted, I think I probably watched these 3 guys more than I probably like really watched Arch, because I kind of just saw Arch. I was like, and then when I would watch like the receivers or tight ends do things, it was more of like a get back. All right, who threw that? And then you notice who it was. Owens missed more throws, I thought, than Caldwell. That would probably be that.
The interesting thing to me, guys, I was reading the notes from yesterday's practice, and at one point Sark talked about, I need to go watch film on Trey and KJ because I was watching Arch and Matt. And I thought to myself, wait a minute, does that mean Caldwell was running 2 and it didn't? It was the number 1 and 4 quarterback were together, and then 2 and 3 were together. Let's watch how that progresses too. Caldwell's obviously got to come along in terms of learning the system a little more, but I wonder if that could change, Catch, as we move along here. Is that what we're going to continue to see? Or, can Trey Owens keep that position at number 2?
I mean, they brought Matthew Caldwell along to stick a burr up Trey Owens' saddle. It's as simple as that. They had 1 scholarship left over. Well, you and I spent weeks talking about, well, what could they do with the last scholarship? They could do anything. Would they do this? Would they do that? And they took Matthew Caldwell, and they basically said, Trey Owens, get your shit together. Or this guy's going to take your job. They don't want to play. I think, I'm telling you, if Arch transferred today and was like, I'm going to go be a beatnik in San Francisco, I think KJ Lacey starts. I think he is, in a world where there were 10 games to go and they were going with somebody, I think they're going with KJ Lacey. I think they want to redshirt him. I think they are determined not to play him more than 4 games. And I think they looked at Trey Owens in the spring and said, dude, what are you doing? Whatever it is, this isn't good enough. And Matthew Caldwell is the official Trey Owens. You either pick it up and play better, or this dude who has actually played in games before will take your job. And because if Matthew Caldwell becomes the second string quarterback, Trey Owens will be 4th string. Mm-hmm. KJ Lacey is more important to them than the other quarterbacks on campus right now, other than Arch, right? Arch is in his own territory. But these other 3 guys, they're like, we need to protect KJ. He might be the future if Diabell doesn't just snatch it from him. Trey Owens got a lot to prove. So for me, everything that we need to know about Trey Owens can be told to us by what happens with Caldwell, because none of these dudes are getting in the way of what they want KJ Lacey to be getting. So my guess, KJ Lacey's going to get some reps with the 2s in every practice just because. The 3s are going to be his group. And by God, don't lose your job. Don't lose the 2 job, because you can't take the 3. And I think Trey Owens is in a position where he's either the backup quarterback going to Columbus and the guy over what we see or what the coaches see in the next 2 weeks, or he's the 4th-string quarterback and his career is over at Texas. And when this semester is over, the thing that you would need to keep an eye on is there's a world where Arch blows up, leaves to go pro early, and Trey Owens is out in the portal because he's been passed and replaced. Caldwell's a senior, so Manning and Caldwell would both go. Diabell would be incoming. KJ Lacey would be your only returning quarterback in this weird, bizarro world where the Longhorns win the national championship and Manning's the first pick in the draft and Trey Owens is like, I lost my job. And then they might have to go get another Matthew Caldwell next year, another quarterback in this class potentially. Like, these are the weird. This is the new Chad. This is why Cody and I love this crap. This is turning college football way more into the NFL than it ever has been before, because the consequences of these dudes used to just sit around forever. They couldn't transfer. So they decided they were going to party for a semester and they got passed on the depth chart. They just hang around until one day they start to take it seriously and maybe they can be good. Now it's like, oh my God. It's like Grayson Littleton is in the slot. You know what that means? It means Wardell Mack got passed. And it, like, on some level, it doesn't even matter that Wardell Mack was taking reps with the 2s, which is an improvement for him. It's like, no, you got passed. And so your place and your positioning on the depth chart is, by the way, my dogs really want to be in here. So I may have to hit the bell button if another dog comes in the neighborhood.
Hey, they might be like those D linemen. They just may need to lay down too.
No, they're real good until another creature comes in the neighborhood.
I am glad, though, Cody, you said what you said about Caldwell. Just looking at a picture, which is hard to do, obviously, but I saw his picture yesterday, and I thought, now that looks like a quarterback, like big 6'4" kid. Even just watching a picture of him throwing a ball, still shot, and like, yeah, that looks comfortable. And you're telling me it looks pretty fluid once it's moving, so that's interesting. All right, so let's get a couple more here because there's some good questions coming in. Money B says, Cody, was something eye-opening from practice? What was something eye-opening from practice? Anything that caught your eye regarding how they run practice? You said this is your first time to see it up close. Did anything stand out just in terms of how things are, orchestrated?
Good question, Money B. I'll go with the hands-on practice, hands-on coaching, and vocal coaching from Chris Jackson and Kenny Baker. Those are maybe my two favorite coaches, but like two coaches that like you walk over next to their unit and Chris Jackson's running side by side as a DB with the receiver down the field, and he's critiquing him mid-route. And he's like, why'd you break it off at 9? Why didn't you break it off at 10? You got to break that off at 10. And then the way he catches it, critiquing him like mid-route, running with DeAndre Moore or Kenny Baker, like really hands-on with some of these defensive tackles and making them redo it in the middle of the work. It's like, all right, Josiah Sharma, come back around here, do that again. You got to finish, with this aggression. You can't just lackadaisically finish this, even though it's a 3-step drill. Things like that. I would say those are the two coaches that really like stood out to me off the rip.
Okay. Speaking of receivers, how about this one from Pete? Do you think Parker Livingstone has a chance to start slot receiver? Maybe.
I like Parker. Parker's good. What I would say is I think he's I was listening to Mac Brown and Vince Young and Bob Blues pod the other day, and Mac had a good analogy for starters, saying that, we would have 25 starters. There's only 22 that can go on the field, but we'd maybe have 25. I think Parker Livingstone fits in that boat where Parker Livingstone's a starter, but it might not be slot. It might not be Z. It might not be – he might just be – he's a starter at receiver because he can play all three positions. And even if he's not the one that first runs out there, he's going to be one that's on the field, whether it's in the slot or at Z, or if Wingo's out, he's playing in there. But even with Wingo out, I think it was more so leaning towards Mosley today, if that were to be the case. But I think I would say this, yes, but in the fashion of he can play all three positions.
Yeah. Okay. That's interesting. Could be a difference between are you in on the first play and do you make a big play in the first quarter? You can say that's not a starter, but if you're in that rotation and you're getting
Correct.
in, and they're trusting you like that, it's a little bit different. There was one more that I liked here. Back to yesterday's big story with the young guys. ZOV says, Cody, how did Littleton and Phillips look? So DB side of things, anything stand out with those guys?
Well, Phillips, I mentioned it earlier, but Jonah Williams and Cade Phillips departed before as we were walking in, and then right. I never saw him come back. Okay. And then from a Littleton standpoint, I think the Littleton thing comes to a little bit, as like a chess play, if you will, for this defensive back room. Like they want to see these guys playing different spots, but I don't think Derek Williams is quite 100%. He's still got a little bit of hitch in his gait, and I think that maybe allows them to, move the safeties, allows them to put Littleton in, and they're early enough in camp to get reps there. His body's advanced as well. He doesn't have a freshman body. He's not one that looks like he needs to add a bunch of weight or add some muscle and things of this nature. Like Littleton fits. It's not tackle football quite yet, but as far as what I could see today was like this, that lived up to everything I heard from yesterday's practice.
Gotcha. All right, Catch, before we wrap here, you got anything else for Cody, or maybe one of the dogs wants to jump through a fiery hoop or something?
The dogs can't get kicked out enough. They just keep coming back in. And I'm talking about them, and they literally don't care. So I don't know what's happening, but they're content for now. We'll see if that lasts for 30 seconds. Last question, Cody, and then we can wrap it up. And I was just saying real quick on the question about Cade Phillips, Sark mentioned yesterday, he and Jonah are both recovering from – everybody knows Jonah Williams had that hamstring injury that was bothering him during the baseball season. It sounds like Cade Phillips has one that he's still recovering from. I think Sark said something like they were playing in a game week that he would be good to go, but, they're still taking it cautiously with him and just as an FYI. All right, Cody, last question. We're clearing the slate. You can pick any player on the entire team that we haven't yet talked about that you saw today and deserves some special Cody Carpentier mention.
Ooh, I forgot about this. So first, before I answer that, I will answer that with the two-piecer. But I forgot to mention earlier with the injured people, Levon Johnson was limited today as well. He didn't do anything. He just walked around with his helmet in his hand. Harold Canoe, I mean, as far as comparing him to Brevard, Sharma, and Shaw physically, you're like, that guy, he ain't ready to play football. But he is. He's going to be a guy that I think is going to – he looks like he's in the best shape of all the defensive tackles. He's the guy, and that's why it doesn't shock me to hear it shocked me on the surface to hear Canoe was running with the first team yesterday. But once I saw him, I was like, oh, that makes sense. Like, this guy's clearly in the best shape. He's coming from Ohio State. Like, he knows how to work. And he looks like a guy that can just be a rotational piece on that interior and bring a motor. Like, that was one thing that stood out. And he's, near the front or at the front of the line going through drills. I think he gets it. I'll say that. And then I'm not going to leave the show without mentioning Dalen McCutcheon. I'll say that. Like, Dalen McCutcheon, yeah, he had a drop during the wide receiver drills today. But and also Jeff Banks mentioned during his availability the other day, DeAndre Moore, Ryan Niblett, and Trey Wisner for punt and kick return duty. Good luck. Good luck keeping Dalen McCutcheon off the field for punt return. That's what I'll say. Good. And I think that'll answer a lot of people saying, well, DeAndre Moore is going to be the starter and he might lead the team in receptions or targets, and Wisner's your starting running back. And all right, Niblett makes sense. Dalen McCutcheon, good luck keeping him off the punt return team.
Yeah. And real quick
before it.
Yeah, I like that too. Yeah, real quick before we wrap, somebody says, Wingo, okay, what happened? Still trying to figure that one out, Trills. And again, that's why we tell you, get to orangebloods.com. Click on the QR code up there. Full practice reports coming from everybody that was there today, including, of course, Anwar Richardson, who will be a part of the group that talks to Sark after practice. And I know that will be probably the first question that gets dealt with in terms of injury stuff. Plus, Cody laid some other maybe injury questions out for us that will get dealt with. So
I don't mean to jinx anything here, Chad, but I would tell everybody, as best you can, I think you can relax. I just never in the 30 years that I've been on this beat has a player like Ryan Wingo ever been hurt. Practice showed up, he wasn't there, and nobody had. My spidey senses say he's fine.
All right, I think that's going to wrap us up. Thanks to Cody Carpentier for jumping in from the 40 acres. Thanks to you guys for jumping in as well. Unfortunately, Alex Dunlap did not get his wish. I don't think they're going to let him watch practice on Friday. Damn it. All right, we'll have to get you content in other ways.
And the practice.
I think it has. I don't want to spoil it for everybody, but I believe I saw messaging that will be it. I hope it's not. UT, if you're listening, for Alex's sake, not for us, not for the three of us, for Alex. Let Alex Dunlap watch practice on a Friday. That's what we want. Hopefully that'll happen.
Let him. It's not for Alex. It's for Bianco. Because if Alex gets to see practice, John won't catch any strays.
Oh yeah, that's true.
But
love you.
We haven't had our annual Alex Dunlap is pissed at the SID office rant yet. So,
and John, who needs that? You don't need that. You're trying to deal with Arch Manning. You're dealing with Arch Manning extra stuff this year. You got Reese Davis wanting to walk around campus with your coach. You don't need to deal with extra Alex Dunlap stuff. Come on.
Simple as that. Let him play. Let him watch.
Let him go. All right. Thank y'all for jumping in. Check all the content at Orange Bloods Live. There is a lot of it. And check out orangebloods.com. Get signed up today. How about $1 for your first week to try it out and see what's going on? Click on the QR code up there in the left corner and get it done. Hell, we're talking to you on a Thursday. That means it's War Room night tonight on orangebloods.com as well. All kinds of stuff. Go check it out. Thank y'all for jumping in. Cody, get home safe. Actually, he's far from home right now. He came to Austin to check out practice. Very cool. Thanks for jumping on with us. Thanks to all the folks out there covering it for OB at practice today. Y'all take care. Stay cool. It's hot out there. Lay down if you need